Hannibal Barca was born in 247 BCE in Carthage, into the family that more than any other embodied the military and imperial soul of the Punic world, the Barcids. His father was Hamilcar Barca, the commander who, after defeat in the First Punic War, saved Carthage from collapse during the Mercenary War, and then opened a new path of power in Iberia. Hannibal, therefore, grows up in an environment where politics is war, war is economy, and economy is survival. For Carthage, after 241 BCE, Rome is the unavoidable horizon. The most famous story from his childhood is also the most mythic, the oath of eternal hatred against Rome. According to tradition, Hamilcar brings his son before an altar and makes him swear never to be a friend of the Romans. Whether this episode is literally true or a later construction, its meaning is real. Hannibal is raised as a man born to resume the game Carthage has lost, and to do that, it isn't enough to fight. You must strike where Rome believes itself invincible. As a teenager, he follows his father to Iberia, the new Carthaginian lung. Silver mines, troop recruitment, fortress cities, alliances with local tribes. After Hamilcar's death, command passes to his son-in-law Hasdrubal, who consolidates the expansion and founds Carthago Nova. In these years, Hannibal becomes a real soldier. He rides, he marches, he speaks different languages, he understands men. He isn't the general shut inside a tent, he's someone who knows how to live among the troops and be followed. When Hasdrubal is killed, Hannibal, still very young, is chosen as commander in Iberia. It's a decisive step. He isn't only a military leader, he is the man onto whom the ambitions of the Barcid family converge, and the idea that Carthage can return to being an active power, not only a commercial one. In just a few years, Hannibal continues to consolidate Carthaginian control through hard campaigns and a politics made of alliances and coercion. A trait that will make him legendary is already clear: his ability to read peoples and make them fight together, even though they are profoundly different from one another. The trigger for war with Rome becomes Saguntum, a city allied with Rome within Iberia's sphere of influence. In 219 BCE, Hannibal besieges Saguntum, a fierce, long, symbolic siege. For Rome, it is an outrage. For Hannibal, it is a message. The game begins again. In 218 BCE, the Second Punic War erupts, and here Hannibal makes the move that changes history. Instead of waiting for the Romans in Spain or at sea, he brings the war into Italy. It's an almost insane choice, but strategically brilliant. He strikes the enemy's nerve center, forcing Rome onto the defensive. He sets out from Spain, crosses the Pyrenees, moves down toward the Rhone, faces hostile tribes, rivers, ambushes, impossible logistics. Then comes the unthinkable, the Alps. The Alpine crossing is one of the boldest acts of antiquity. It isn't just elephants on the mountains, it's holding a multi-ethnic army together while climate, terrain, and local enemies devour it. Hannibal reaches Italy with heavy losses, yes, but he reaches it. And the mere fact of being there is already a psychological victory. As soon as he comes down, he annihilates Roman forces in a series of lightning blows. First, the Trebia, 218 BCE. He uses cold, terrain, and ambushes, dragging the Romans into a battle he has already written. Then, Lake Trasimene, 217 BCE. One of the greatest ambushes in military history, an entire Roman army surprised and slaughtered along a foggy shoreline. Rome is in shock. For the first time, it understands that Hannibal is not just an enemy, he is a system. Rome responds with a new strategy. Fabius Maximus, the delayer, avoids frontal battle, wears Hannibal down, cuts supplies, forces his army to live off plunder and alliances. It's an intelligent response, but politically unpopular. Rome wants immediate revenge. And so, in 216 BCE, it goes back in search of the decisive battle. Hannibal gives it. At Cannae, he writes his masterpiece. Rome responds with a new strategy. Fabius Maximus, the delayer, avoids frontal battle, wears Hannibal down, cuts supplies, forces his army to live off plunder and alliances. It's an intelligent response, but politically unpopular. Rome wants immediate revenge, and so, in 216 BCE, it goes back in search of the decisive battle. Hannibal gives it. At Cannae, he writes his masterpiece. After Cannae, Hannibal aims at a goal that is more political than military, breaking Roman Italy from within. He seeks allies among peoples and cities subjected to Rome. Some switch to his side, like Capua, later Tarentum as well. But here, one of the structural limits of his project emerges. Hannibal can defeat Rome in the field, but Rome is a system of alliances and loyalties built over decades, and many cities prefer to stay with whoever seems destined to win, or simply fear Roman revenge. And here comes the question everyone asks: why doesn't Hannibal march on Rome after Cannae? The answer is a mix of strategy, logistics, and reality. Rome is not just any city. It is fortified, it is huge, and Hannibal has no adequate siege engines, no secure supplies, and no fresh army. Conquering Rome isn't reaching the walls, it's taking it and holding it. And Hannibal, in Italy, is an isolated army in enemy territory that must survive every day. Moreover, the hope was political, to bring Rome down not through a siege, but through the dissolution of its alliance system. A razor-sharp strategy, but slow. And over time, Rome grows stronger. For years, Hannibal remains in Italy, like an almost ghostly and terrifying presence. He wins clashes, misses opportunities, maneuvers, searches for support. But Rome learns. It avoids major battles, retakes cities one by one, punishes traitors, rebuilds armies with an astonishing capacity. The decisive blow comes when Rome opens the front Hannibal cannot control: Spain. Publius Cornelius Scipio, later called Africanus, strikes Carthaginian bases, cuts recruitment and resources, and reduces Carthage's ability to sustain the war. When Hannibal's brother, Hasdrubal, tries to bring reinforcements into Italy, he is defeated and killed at the Metaurus, 207 BCE. It is one of the most tragic moments in Hannibal's story. He understands that the war is closing against him. Scipio then brings the war to Africa, and here Hannibal is recalled. After more than 15 years in Italy, he returns to defend the homeland. The final act is Zama, 202 BCE. It isn't Hannibal versus Scipio like in a movie. It is a clash of systems, of logistics, of alliances. Scipio has a fundamental advantage: allied Numidian cavalry, decisive. Hannibal fights with discipline and intelligence, but he loses. Zama doesn't destroy only an army. It destroys the dream of a Carthage capable of setting the rules. Carthage is forced into brutal terms: indemnities, reduction of the fleet, and a ban on making war without Roman permission. And here something happens that many people ignore. Hannibal, the total warrior, becomes a politician too. After the war, in Carthage, he attempts internal reforms. He wants to reduce corruption and the power of the oligarchies, make the state more efficient, and pay the debts without bending completely. That is precisely what makes him dangerous even in peacetime. Rome doesn't want only a disarmed Carthage. It wants a Carthage incapable of lifting its head again. Hannibal's figure, even without an army, is too powerful a symbol. Under pressure, Hannibal chooses exile. His second life begins, that of Rome's global enemy. He goes east and attaches himself to the court of the Seleucid king Antiochus III, who is heading into collision with Rome. Hannibal becomes an advisor, a strategist, a military mind. In this phase, he lives almost like a hunted man, always one step ahead, always at risk of betrayal. When war between Rome and Antiochus breaks out, Roman power wins there too. Hannibal finds himself forced to flee yet again. He moves from one refuge to another. There is talk of Crete, of constant travel, of attempts to remain useful and alive while Rome stretches its hands everywhere. In the end, he finds protection with Prusius Orange of Bithynia in Asia Minor, where he continues to advise and fight in a smaller context, almost on the margins of great history. But Rome does not forget. It demands his surrender. And here comes the final gesture, the one that seals the myth with a Roman tragic stamp. Hannibal chooses not to be captured. Tradition says he always carried poison with him, hidden, ready. When he realizes they are coming to take him, he uses it. He dies around 183 BCE. This is the traditional date, far from Carthage, far from Rome, but still within their shadow. It is an ending consistent with his life. He does not leave others the right to decide his conclusion. So what did Hannibal do through all of this? He proved that Rome could be beaten. He turned ancient warfare into something more complex. Psychological strategy, extreme logistics, masterful use of terrain, command of multi-ethnic armies, the ability to read the enemy and force it to change its skin. And, paradoxically, he made Rome greater. Fear of Hannibal pushed Rome to become more disciplined, more ruthless, more global. In this sense, Hannibal is the man who humiliated Rome, and who, by humiliating it, forced it to become an empire.